You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning, it's March the 31st, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. I'm live here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca. Well, what a weekend that was, people. I'll tell you. Here I am. Usually I give an eyewitness weather report as we get started. And I can tell you today, the word of the day is ice. That's right. Ice everywhere, all over the trees, all over the roads, all over the buildings, all over the cars, everywhere. We got rain, freezing rain all weekend long. Myself here, the reason I'm broadcasting at all, because we are without power, is because we have a generator that's running to put some power into the house. But other than that, businesses are closed. Gas stations have run out of fuel. The ones that were able to stay open, like if they had their own generators, and yeah, it's pretty nasty. We're hearing that we may not get our power back here until tomorrow sometime later in the day. So who knows? And you'll probably also notice I'm a little sinusy. I am stuffed up, and I have one hell of a cold. I'm taking my Buckleys, and I got some halls going on, trying to make things a little bit easier for me to breathe and get through the day. So, but other than that, yeah, stay safe, everybody out there. Lots of trees are breaking. Highways have been closed. Hydro lines have been down right over top of roadways, the whole bit. I was out this morning and did a little tour around here and saw all kinds of trees that had snapped just like that. So, and the ice is melting. It is warming up here, and it will be warm enough that it won't probably melt at all, being that it's going to be somewhere around 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and should melt that snow. But there's still lots of damage out there, and play safe, people. Other than that, all right, we'll get started onto the news. And first story up of the day comes to me from the business of cannabis. Headline says, cannabis research woefully undersupported by state sales taxes, says new report. Cannabis-related scientific research is woefully undersupported in the U.S., with less than half of the states which have legalized cannabis in some form offering provisions for research. Now, according to the Journal of Cannabis Medicine, published before, this is state funding for cannabis research and analysis of funding mechanism and levels. So that came out this month, said that they found just 17 of the 38 states with some form of legalized medical or recreational cannabis industry include clauses of scientific research, and of those, just 12 had allocated funds. Come on, people, let's get some research in there. Everyone's screaming, we need more research, we need more research, and those are the politicians. So yeah, you know, they're not helping in any way by not funding it. So, led by researchers at the University of California and the Cannabis Policy Lab, the study highlights the expanding chasm between cannabis legalization and rigorous scientific research able to inform these regulations. States like California, Michigan, and Florida were identified as leading examples, having established university partnerships and dedicated research grants. Leading the charge, California earmarks a portion of cannabis tax revenue specifically for studies on the health effects of cannabis use. Meanwhile, although states like Alabama and Pennsylvania include research-related language in their laws, they have yet to distribute any funds. Goes on to explore the dynamic between federal and state-sponsored research, with the vast majority of funding still coming via the federal government. Well, we know where that's not a lot there. Mostly from the National Institute of Abuse in 2021 alone. Oh, there you go, $200 million. They said that they accounted for, and the NHL's total of $369 million invested in cannabis research. Well, that's a lot more than I ever thought they would be, being that you don't get much from the U.S. Most of it comes from Europe or other places. Despite hundreds of millions of dollars in grants, critics argue that this research is often biased towards exploring the risk and harms of cannabis use. I think a lot of cannabis advocates would agree with that. It's been like that since I got started years ago, with less emphasis on the potential therapeutic applications of the medicine or the potential for legalization to benefit public health. Public health, maybe reduction in opioids. Yeah. As such, the report authors argue that state governments are now raking in billions, that's the B, people, in tax revenue from cannabis sales and are in the position to launch multidisciplinary research. The authors recommend that states allocate a fixed percentage of cannabis tax income to academic research, create competitive grant programs, and build closer ties between public health authorities and research institutions. Without these efforts, the study warns cannabis policy in the U.S. risks being shaped more by politics and industry lobbying than by evidence and public interest. Yeah, I can see that, because they're always screaming, no, there's not enough research, which I already mentioned. So, alrighty. From that acknowledgement that they got to put some more money into the research, on to our next story. Yeah, just get that line right up there. There we go. And this one comes to me from the Marijuana Moment. Headline says, Trump White House says marijuana decriminalization opened the door to disorder. Huh? Open the door to disorder. Yeah, in Washington, D.C. What disorder? Boy. President Donald Trump's White House says the move to decriminalize cannabis in Washington, D.C. is an example of a failed policy that opened the door to disorder. What? In a fact sheet about an executive order that Trump signed on Friday, which is broadly aimed at beautifying the district and making it more safe, the White House listed several local policies in the nation's capital that it takes issue with, including cannabis reform. I don't know where people seem to think that this guy's going to legalize cannabis, but I'll tell you, I don't find anything that says he is. That's despite the president's previously stated support for a states' rights approach to cannabis laws. See? DC's failed policies opened the door to disorder, and criminals noticed. It says, citing marijuana decriminalization, as well as the district's decision to end pretrial detentions and enforcement practices around rioters as examples of such policies. The executive order itself doesn't mention cannabis specifically, but it says the directive will involve deploying a more robust federal law enforcement presence and coordinating with local law enforcement to facilitate the deployment of more robust local law enforcement presence as appropriate in the areas in or around D.C., and that includes addressing drug possession, sale, and use. With respect to the fact sheet circulated by the White House, cannabis possession and personal cultivation is legalized in D.C. under voter-approved ballot initiative, though commercial sales of non-medical cannabis remain illegal, a policy referred to by some as decriminalization. It's medical. Because of the long-standing congressional rider that's been annually renewed since that vote, the district hasn't been able to use local funds to implement a system of regulated recreational cannabis sales. So officials have taken steps to expand the city's existing medical cannabis program as a workaround. During Trump's first term, he maintained the D.C. rider to keep blocking cannabis sales in his budget request, as did his successor, President Joe Biden. But as advocates and industry stakeholders have waited to see how the Trump administration will navigate the cannabis policy issues during this second term, and whether the president will push for reforms such as rescheduling and banking access as he endorsed on the campaign trail, the fact that his White House first public mention of cannabis links decriminalization to disorder is hardly encouraging. I gotta completely agree with that. The prohibitionist group Smart Approaches to Marijuana cheered the White House messaging. You got a prohibitionist group cheering that message, Yeah. Then they added that Washington, D.C. did not just decriminalize private cannabis use for adults. It opened the door for total legalization, which can be smelled on virtually every street today. And I wouldn't doubt you can smell it before legalization. This comes one day after former Rep. Matt Gaetz, he was Trump's first pick as the U.S. AG. He said that in an op-ed that meaningful marijuana reform is on the horizon under the current administration, praising the president's leadership in supporting rescheduling. Where? Where? The former lawmaker's column omits mention the fact that former President Joe Biden initiated the rescheduling review that led federal agencies to recommend the reclassification. And while it's true that during his 2024 campaign, Trump endorsed the policy change in a social media post, he has not publicly addressed marijuana issues since taking office. That's right. The current administration rescheduling process is delayed, with the DEA judge postponing hearings on the proposal near the end of Biden's term amid complications related to selected witnesses. Yes, there was. That included questions about whether the DEA leadership actually supported the proposed rule despite the agency's role as the proponent of the policy. Trump's selections for key administration positions also come with a mixed bag of cannabis records. Exactly. For example, the president picked former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi to run the DOJ, and the Senate confirmed that choice. During her confirmation hearing, Bondi declined to say how she planned to navigate key cannabis policy issues. And as state attorney general, she opposed efforts to legalize medical cannabis. She opposed medical cannabis. That doesn't sound too well. Adding to the uncertainty around the fate of the rescheduling proposal, Trump's nominee to lead the DEA, Terrence Cole, had previously voiced concerns about dangers of marijuana and linked its use to higher suicide risk among youth. As I said, I'm not hearing anything that's positive. State courts have been trying to leverage Trump's stated support for rescheduling, appealing to him for framing the issue as means to support veterans and patients in a way that they hope will motivate the president to advocate for the reform from the Oval Office. Regardless of how other officials and his administration feel, the thinking goes the mandate from Trump would not go unheeded. So we'll find out on that. To that point, the cannabis industry funded political action committee is attacking Biden's cannabis policy record as well as the nation of Canada. With new ads promoting sometimes misleading claims about the last administration while making the case that Trump can deliver on reform. Yeah, attacking Canada on it. In that ad, I did that story the other day, and I had a chuckle with it too. So, alrighty, on to story number 3. This one's coming to me from StratCan. And the headline on it says that new licenses slow in first quarter of 2025. Shift to micro licensing begins. Yeah, I could see that. The smaller places instead of the big guys, big factories. So far this year, Health Canada has approved 11 new micro licenses and 4 new standard licenses. They revoked 37 licenses, listed 2 as expired and 1 as suspended. The number of cannabis license revocations has been increasing in recent years. There were 106 such revocations in 2024 compared to 101 new licenses issued. 62 of those new licenses were micro cultivators and or processors, while 36 were standards and 3 were cannabis nurseries. The majority of revocations are at the request of the license holder, while a few were revoked at the request of the health minister. There are currently 893 active cannabis licenses listed by Health Canada. That's down from 914 in early January. License revocations and expirations are common in the lead up to tax time in April, as producers looking to exit the market will want to exit before a new filing season for their taxes and other associated annual fees. Now, in addition, following Health Canada's change in the federal regulations, expanding the canopy and processing capacity for microprocessors and processors and the growers, 26 standard license holders have already been listed as shifting to micro licenses. 10 of those changes were noted for the week of ending March the 21st, and another 16 were listed on March the 28th. Micro licenses have been the most popular license type for several years in a row, likely due to their lower costs and approval times. And with micro cultivation, micro processing, and nursery licenses pay an annual $2,500 regulatory fee to Health Canada. Standard cultivation and standard processing and sale for medical purposes licenses pay $23,000, while micros pay 1% of the revenues on sales up to $1 million. Standards pay for a flat 2.3%. So when this all got going and the micros were coming in, a lot of people figured that's what was going to happen. People would shift to the micros. The consumers are shifting there, and the growers, there's benefits. If you're wanting to be a grower in the cannabis and the legal industries, obviously there's some benefits to be the micro grower. So it'd be nice if the micro growers could be able to deal directly with without having to go through the LP. So I don't know whether that's changed, but that was last I was aware of it. So okay, here we go. Last story before I go to break. This one comes to me from the Marijuana Moment. Headline there says Iowa lawmakers unanimously approve bill to create psilocybin program that would treat up to 5,000 patients with PTSD, and I'm going to say PTSI. It's an injury. I know they call it a disorder, but some patients have spoken with, they don't consider it a disorder. They consider it it's an injury to them. So, an Ohio House Committee has unanimously approved a Republican-led proposal to create a state-regulated therapeutic psilocybin program for adults with PTSD. The bill F 620 from Rep. John Wills passed the House Ways and Means Committee on a 23-0 vote. If enacted into law, it would allow up to 5,000 patients in the state to legally access psilocybin produced in-state by licensed entities. Administration sessions would need to be supervised by registered facilitators, mostly medical professionals, who would need to complete state specific psilocybin education. Psilocybin providers would need to be doctors, advanced nurses. Let me get this ad out of the way. It's going to close anyways. There we go. Nurse practitioners, advanced nurse practice nurses, psychologists, and social workers who complete psilocybin continuing education requirements, register with the state, and pay a registration fee. Administration sessions themselves would need to be at registered clinical locations and would need to be video recorded. These recordings would need to be available for inspection by state officials upon request. The psilocybin itself will be produced by state licensed establishments. Local governments could not outright ban those facilities, nor could they deny them appropriate licenses based merely on the fact that psilocybin violates federal law. Notably, a licensed psilocybin production facility could be co-located with one of the state's few licensed medical cannabis producers, known in Iowa as medical cannabidiol producers. And the bill says regulators may grant psilocybin licensing preferences to those existing cannabis producers. Facilities couldn't be located within 1,000 feet of a community location or 500 feet of a residential area. Only people 21 and older and without a misdemeanor for drug distribution or any felony could work at the psilocybin producers, and licensees themselves would face background checks. Yeah, that happens a lot. Up to 4 independent testing labs could be licensed under the bill, and the state could also establish its own lab. License applications will be accepted beginning July the 1st, 2026. To oversee the system, the legislation would create a state psilocybin production establishment licensing board under the Iowa Department of Health and Human Services. Now, appointed by the director of that department, the board would include a member of the public with knowledge on psilocybin, a member with knowledge and experience in the pharmaceutical or nutraceutical manufacturing industry, and a law enforcement member, a university chemist or researcher with experience in manufacturing, a member who has background in fungus or mushroom cultivation and processing. Here comes the hiccups. The HHS director or a designee would also sit on the board, casting a vote only in the event of ties. So that means they would be the deciding factor. Yeah. Earlier this week, a Ways and Means subcommittee unanimously advanced the legislation from Willis himself, a military veteran for 25 years. He says, "I know a lot of my guys that are still suffering," the lawmaker told the Cedar Rapids Gazette. He said, it goes on to say, "What happens with those PDSI sufferers if they, the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, put them on a mind-altering medicine for the rest of their life?" Willis also told the Gazette that although other psychedelic substances and qualifying conditions aren't listed in the bills, the intent is that state regulators could eventually expand the program to include other conditions or substances that research supports. So there you go. It's good to be able to add stuff to it. Radio. We will just remove that out of there. There we go. So other than that, we are getting ready to go to break. And a shout out to my YouTube viewers who are watching the show this morning. Thanks for tuning in. And it's time for me to take my medication. I got to get a drink. I know that big time. I know that. We'll be right back. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. I'm live here at paceradio.net and at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. Open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats, and look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, They offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
All right, and back, bringing you some more news, just so you know. The sciences didn't get cleared up any better over break, but I got rid of some crap. So, all righty, just so you know. Good morning, afternoon, guys. Well, I can tell you, Gordo, just so everybody knows, Gordo's in Scotland. It is morning here. And Gordo, also, so you know, we are in a bit of a pickle over here in Ontario, Canada. We are suffering from a ice storm, and there's a lot of damage going on, and a lot of stuff's happening as far as work to get done in order to fix this, because there's a lot of people who aren't at work because of the storm. There's a lot of damage going on out there. Hydro poles, hydro lines have been down on the road. Trees are down on roadways. So yeah, it's a bit of a mess out there. If you don't have to go out, why go out? You just stay here and watch the news. That's all. Alrighty. From that, we'll switch over to the next story. And this one's coming to me from Mugglehead Magazine. Headline says, Emory University measures psilocybin therapy healing with a voice analysis app. Let's see what this is about. Atlanta, Georgia's Emory University has developed an innovative mobile app that will be used to measure the efficacy of magic mushrooms therapy in a novel way. Fabla, developed by a team of experts from the institution's App Hatchery initiative, is the center of an upcoming study regarding the impact of psilocybin on people suffering from depression. The software will measure characteristics of their verbal responses, like tone, pitch, and word selection, to help judge whether or not the psychedelic mushrooms are beneficial post-administration. They call these speech biomarkers. It says that recruitment for the optimized study will begin next month. The school plans to enroll 141 people in the clinical trial, which will be housed at the healthcare center in Colorado. These subjects will use the app for 2 weeks before the therapy sessions begin, and for 6 weeks afterwards. I guess that would give you your base stuff for the 2 weeks before therapy, and obviously the 6 weeks afterwards is a continuation of see how things have improved. Now, according to Fabio creator Deanna Kaplan, she says that rather than simply asking if someone feels better, we're examining how their internal dialogue changes. Ooh. Now, Imperial College London is the only other notable research institute to integrate speech analysis into a psilocybin depression study, and that the British School published its assessments in the Journal on Affective Disorders back in 2018. So here we are, like 8 years later, and it's still being looked at, right? It's still being researched. Alrighty, from there, we're going to move on to the next one. We're going to go to a nice warm spot. Like I said, we are sitting here in a province of ice, at least in this area that I'm at. And so let's head to Hawaii, where it's much warmer and there's no ice, as Hawaii lawmakers weighing proposals to boost medical cannabis program. Good. A push is underway in the Hawaii legislature to expand the state's medical cannabis program after efforts to legalize adult use again failed to advance. According to Hawaii's News Now bills in the Senate and the much more conservative House contain several provisions aimed to boost enrollment in the MMJ program while thwarting unlicensed and unregulated supply channels. The proposals include allowing medical professionals to recommend cannabis for patients instead of adhering to a restrictive list of qualifying conditions. Allowing licensed cultivators to wholesale medical cannabis products directly to retailers, and adding dispensaries in rural areas. Another bill would boost enforcement of the illegal CBD stores by requiring licenses, seizing products containing THC, and shuttering such establishments, Hawaii News Now has reported. All the legislation, according to lawmakers, is designed to prop up the state's stagnant medical cannabis program. The number of registered medical patients in Hawaii has been gradually falling since at least September of 2023. At the end of February, there were 29,820 in-state patients, down from 31,581 in February 2024, and roughly 5.5% according to the latest statistics from the state's health department. Yeah, you don't never want to see the patients' numbers going down, because it's either patients are dying or not as many people are registering for the program. And, only way to support the programs is to register with them, right? So, okay, on to the next story. This one here. I've never been to these people before, but there we go. This one comes to me from Fierce Biotech, and it says, Relmada reconsiders phase 2 plans to test magic mushroom extract for obesity. Like, this is almost like cannabis. They're coming out with so many different conditions that psilocybin can be beneficial, just like what they've done with cannabis. I've never heard them talk about it for obesity, so this is good. Here we go. Relmada Therapeutics attempts to see whether a magic mushroom extract could be used to treat obesity and metabolic diseases might be coming to an end before they really begin. Biotech launched a phase 1 study in November of 2024 of its low-dose formulation of psilocybin, which is extracted from magic mushrooms, or for metabolic disease. At the time, Relmada pointed to a preclinical rodent data that it claimed showed that the therapy, dubbed REL-P11, could have potential to become a valuable therapeutic option in the evolving obesity and metabolic syndrome space. The plan had been, I don't like this past terms, had been used to use the first clinical trial to warm up for the launch of phase 2 study in the first half of 2025. But in its full year earnings results, Relmada said it is now reevaluating further development of the REL-P11 as part of our prioritization efforts. While results of the phase 1 study indicate that REL-P11 is well tolerated, our emphasis on focused patient populations and the increased competition clinical development landscape in metabolic disease have prompted our review, says their chief financial officer, Meg Shinoda. Now, psilocybin has appeared in a number of biotech pipelines as the sector investigates whether psychedelics could improve treatment for mental health conditions such as depression and PTSD. 5 months ago, Cybin posted the phase 2 data suggesting its psilocybin-derived compound could help major depressive disorder, while Compass, don't be jumping around, Pathways is expected to report phase 3 depression data for its psilocybin therapy in the coming months. Well, we'll watch for that, people. Now, Relmada ditched a pair of phase 3 trials for its own depression project. I wonder why. An MDAR antagonist dubbed REL 1017 at the end of last year, likely after the likelihood of success dimmed. Oh, maybe that's why they've done this. Top of the biotech's list of priorities is NDV-01, a sustained release intraversal formulation of commonly used chemotherapies. Top line data from the phase 2 study of non-muscle invasive bladder cancer are due to be presented at a conference next month. There's also ceprolondone, Yeah, a GABA A modulating steroid agonist licensed from Aaron. They don't make these words easy to say, people. Believe me. Phase 2 studies in Tourette's syndrome and Prader-Willi syndrome are both expected to kick off sometime between the fourth quarter of 2025 and early 26, with $44.8 million in the bank at the end of 2024. The CFO says the company began this year with solid financial strength. Now looks okay, good. There you go. It's the end. Just the cursor bar on the side there makes it look like a real long story. But yeah. All right. Last story of the day is coming up, and this one's coming to me from the marijuana moment. And we are heading to New York. And maybe if you ever go visit New York, maybe you go to a theater or someplace like that. But look at this. New York movie theaters could sell marijuana and allow consumption during the films under forthcoming licenses, official says. Like, wow. A New York official said there are plans in the works to expand permitting and licensing rules that could allow adults to buy and consume cannabis at movie theaters. And that's what it says. While many theaters across the country currently let moviegoers purchase and drink alcohol, that's not the case for cannabis in states where marijuana has been legalized. Something tells me they're talking about beverages, not smoking joints in the theater. But we'll find out as we go along. Now, press secretary from New York's Office of Cannabis, Tyler Randy Lee, says at this time, cannabis can only be sold at legal licensed adult use dispensaries or legal licensed adult use micro businesses. For theaters to serve, recreational cannabis at their establishments, they would need to either an events permit or consumption lounge license. She was quoted as saying in a story the trade publication ran about ways that theaters can appeal to audiences to buy tickets. Now, New York State does not have either yet, but plans to do in the future. Well, let's get there in the future. The idea of potentially expanding permitting to authorize sales of cannabis products at movie theaters would set New York apart as it continues to build upon the state's legalization law. I just never heard of anybody doing it in the theaters. All these no smoking laws everywhere. That's why I'm thinking beverages. But here we go. OCM's comments come days after Governor Kathy Hochul signed a pair of companion bills into law that are meant to expand New York's marijuana farmers market program, allowing for more partnerships between licensed cannabis businesses and standalone pop-up events. New York initially authorized cannabis farmers markets events in 2023. I remember that, aiming to expedite consumers' access as traditional retailers were being approved and help producers bring their products directly to market. Yeah, the stores were really behind on getting going, and all these farmers had all this product. So they allowed them to have farmers markets. Last December, Hochul separately signed legislation to revive the program after it sunsetted in January of 2024. The farmers market events, as originally authorized, were largely responsive to the slow rollout of New York's adult use cannabis program, which faced multiple delays in implementation amid litigation. But the state's industry has gradually expanded, with officials in January touting $1 billion in total sales since the market launched. There you go. Movie theaters. Gonna go to the movies? And, it never did say whether it was going to be non-smokables, smokables, both. So who knows what the regulations would be. But, hey, don't worry. We're going to keep an eye on this. And if it's is in the news again, we'll make sure we'll find out what's going on in New York and doing doobs, smoking doobs or drinking beverages, cannabis beverages in the theater. All right, people, that's it. I got it all done. I covered 8 stories. Imagine, I'm amazed I got through the show. I am just completely stuffed up. Sinuses can't even breathe through them. So, all right. Other than that, people, that's it for today. Thanks to our buds at the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, and At-Eze.ca. In closing, mate, to say thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching. And as I always say, I've been saying this for years, people, do not educate. Oh, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. I'll get it right. There we go. Talk to you all Thursday. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.